Can you hear that outside?
Nope.
Okay, good. Hey, everybody. We are broadcasting, Liz.
Are we,
Um,
Jeff?
well, sort of.
To each other.
Right. Yes, to each other. Sorry if you're one of the regulars that hang out in our
Mike
live chat
Kuipers.
room,
Yeah.
Mike and all
Neil
the wonderful
Landwarn
people.
and yeah.
Yeah.
Et
Well,
cetera,
you
et
know what? I'm
cetera.
not going to mention anybody's name because I'm going to forget somebody and they're going to be upset I
I
didn't
know.
mention them.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know who you people are. And so what Liz and I are doing is a little bit of a different thing. And I'm going to explain it in the audio only podcast. So after I introduce Radio Roger and Liz, then I'm going to explain what we're doing here. It's a little bit of an experiment, actually.
Hmm.
But yeah, and so it's a busy time of year, and a lot of people schedules are kind of crazy, and so none of the co-hosts were available to join Liz and I today. So it's
Here we are.
an old school thing, but not really because I'm doing it with my partner here. So we're uh, we're gonna knock out. It's gonna be a shorter show, and I think that a lot of people will appreciate that. And it's not going to have all the bells and whistles that our normal shows have. Yeah, actually, I'm going to talk about that when we actually start
Right.
our recording. So,
Yep.
okay, so let's. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have Radio Roger add in the intro after the fact in post, and then I would say something like,
Uh-oh. Sorry, my dog is
I would
making
say,
noises.
oh, this is interesting. I'm glad that she's doing this.
Puppy.
You hear that? So a lot of times I hear that when we're doing a regular show, but I'm the only one that can hear it. Well, and Liz, because she's there actually hearing it in person. But Liz is usually in contact with me directly on a different channel, so none of the other hosts of the show can hear any of the things that Liz is communicating with
It's
me.
your
And
very
sometimes
favorite
it's
toy. Come here, puppy. Come here.
yeah,
Bring it here. Come here.
but
Come on.
it's cool.
Come here.
I like it. I don't know what that big noise was. They're doing a lot of construction around here. I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, and it's
Wisconsin.
Friday the
On
6th.
Wisconsin.
No, not
On
Friday. It's Tuesday,
Wisconsin. Tuesday.
December
6th.
6th. And yeah, I'll give you more info here once we start our
Get
recording,
rolling.
so to speak. Yeah. All right, you ready?
Yep. Ready.
Okay. Let me get my script. Okay. And think just double check, make sure my recording's still going. Okay, it is. All right. Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the number one all-news station in the nation, 1010 Wins on 92.3 FM in
New York City!
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a pilot at a major legacy airline based in Atlanta, Georgia. And joining me today from our studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer director, it's Liz Piper.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Liz. So, hey, it's just you and me here today.
Here we are. Yeah.
Yeah, here we are. You're in Toronto. I'm in Madison,
Madison,
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, on the 6th of December is when we're recording this. So we're doing a little bit, no, normally we introduce everybody, but we're the only ones here today. And then we jump right into the aviation news of the week. But before we do that, we need to explain something. This is a little bit of a different show we're doing today. First of all, you're not going to have a lot of back and forth when you have multiple co-hosts. So it should be a shorter show. And I'm hoping for that because, it'll be less of a job for me to do the post-editing work. And in another way the thing that we're going to do here to help out that post-editing thing is that I'm not going to do all the bells and whistles that I normally do. Like if you're used to listening to the audio-only podcast and your podcast client software is able to show the chapter images and that kind of thing, well, you're going to notice that the only chapter image that you see there is the cover art for episode 547, which we don't know the name of the show yet. We usually come up with that at the end of it or after we recorded, and then we come up with the artwork and stuff. So that's all you're going to see there. So it's going to be easy for me. It's a lot of work after the fact, so that's eliminated. On the website itself, the post on the WordPress site, the airlinepilotguy.com website, for this show, I'm going to have some links for some of the articles that we cover here today, the news articles, and perhaps some of the links and feedback. But that's it. I'm not going to put the time codes there because that takes some extra time as well. So, but the links will be there if you want to delve in more deeply to some of the items that we cover here today. So, and the reason why you didn't get a show last week is because, well, I think I mentioned, Liz, did I mention that
I don't think you have
I
yet,
have
no.
had an offer on the house? Okay. So we did receive an offer on the house, my marital residence of the last 21 years, a little over 21 years now. We got an offer going back and forth with the buyers,
Purchasers,
the purchasers, the negotiations that you do with the price and all that kind of stuff, the haggling.
Doing
They
the
have
dance.
people come in, doing the dance, look at, do an inspection and, this, that, and we don't like this. We want you to do this. And anyway, we went through all that thinking that, well, this definitely is not going to go through. These people, you just aren't serious. And turns out they were. They really did want the house. And so we came up with a price, and it's going to close on Friday of this week. It's Tuesday, so just in a few days. And so I kind of started a little minor panic when I realized, oh, crap, this thing's really happening. Still got a lot of stuff in the house that we need to move out, and a lot of planning for where I'm going to go next. I know many of you know that my plan is to do full-time RV life. I don't have an RV yet, so I can't do that yet. So that's hopefully coming sometime next year, late spring, early summer. That's what I'm kind of planning on. But in the meantime, I was thinking, I'm going to do like full-time, well, between trips, just live in hotels or Airbnbs or whatever. And then the more I've been thinking about it, I'm thinking maybe it would be better for me to be in an apartment. So I've been looking at apartments, or actually I haven't looked at any yet, but I've been doing some research on it. So I need to come up with something really, really quickly because this is happening very soon. So now you understand why I didn't have time last week to do a show. And I really don't have time this week either. But I really care about our audience and, getting something there to let you know that we're still all alive and we're in good health. And we want to be producing these things every week as we have been for so many years. But hopefully after this, all the dust settles on the sale of the house, and I'm figuring out, or I have figured out where I'm going to be, the new APG headquarters for at least the next 6 months or so. Then we'll get back to a regular schedule.
Yeah, might have a
So-
little break around Christmas, but we'll
Yeah.
probably be back at it.
Right. So don't anybody fear, like, what's the term that we use in the podcasting world? Pod fading, or a pod. We're not pod faders. We do
No.
not have any intention to stop doing what we're doing because we get a lot of great feedback from people that tell us that this has been an important part in their lives, or an important thing in
Element,
their lives.
yeah.
We're inspiring them and helping them, work out career paths and that kind of thing. In fact, I just met a guy, Liz, today when I was in Atlanta. I'm on day 2 of a 3-day trip right now. He came up to me while I was eating lunch, late breakfast with my good friend, favorite first officer, Brent. And he said, "Are you Captain Jeff?" I said, "Uh-huh." And this guy's wearing an Acme uniform. And he said, "Yeah, I've been listening to your show for a while, and it's really helped me out." And he just got not long ago, out of the Navy, or no, I'm sorry, the Air Force. And who is now with Acme Airlines. It has been for a little while.
And flying on your
So,
fleet, yeah?
Yeah, he's a first officer on the 717 fleet. So I'm hoping that maybe I'll get a chance to fly with Jason sometime in the future. So that's just an example that it's an important
But we
thing.
got a couple
not
of
only
feedback items today, too, about people commenting on what the show meant to them, which is kind of cool,
Oh.
too.
That's always good. I loved, we all love to hear that here on the APG crew because it makes it, honestly though, you know what? Even if we never got any positive feedback, we'd probably still do the darn thing because it's our excuse to get together with good friends every week and share our love of aviation and beer and other things. So,
And it truly was just a scheduling issue this week that the others aren't here. They haven't walked
yeah,
away. They're just busy.
that's what I'm hoping anyway.
Well, that's what they're
I'm
telling
relying
us
on,
anyway. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, that's what they're telling us.
yeah.
Well, I can talk about this in the getting to know us segment, I guess. But without further ado, I
Yeah.
think that now that we've kind of explained what we're doing here, it's a little bit different thing. Oh, and I didn't mention the most crucial part of this experiment that we're doing here today, Liz, and that
Yes.
is I am not going. What you're hearing right now, what we're recording directly, is not going to be edited. It's is like a one. I think I call it a one take, no cuts. So
It's a
hopefully,
reality podcast.
unless something really crashes, like the internet goes
Yeah.
down or my computer
Yeah.
stops or something, or Liz's,
You have to fix that.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I'd have to fix that. But barring
That's not going to
something
happen.
like that, no. So here we go. So we're not taking
Here we
any
go.
breaks or anything. All right.
Let's go.
So let's hit the news sounder. What do you think? You ready?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm ready.
Stand by for news.
This is a shocking story that we're starting off with this week, or it could have been anyway. And we don't want to leave them hanging. Uh, there you go. We're showing a picture, a slide in the video, if you happen to be watching that, of an airplane literally hanging in a very shocking position on a high tension, high energy electrical tower, supply tower. I mean, like one of these things that looks like goes up a couple hundred feet, super tall tower. And say hi to Poppy for me.
Sorry.
Oh, that's right. Oh, look, Poppy, if you're watching the video, there's Poppy. Hi, Poppy. Anyway, so this airplane ends up where it shouldn't be. Let's see. I think a few people sent this news item in. One of them being Ken. He says, "Dear APG crew, my mother and sister in Rockville, Maryland, lost their power last night, and it was because of this." Sent us a link to a WashingtonPost.com article. Unbelievably, both of the aircraft's occupants survived and were rescued. And then there is also a YouTube video that I'll have a link to in the show notes from the AOPA Air Safety Institute talking about this incident, accident, whatever you want to call it. Let me read a little bit of the narrative. A pilot and a passenger were rescued from a small plane that had crashed into a power line tower and power lines in Maryland after an hours-long ordeal that saw power cut to nearly 100,000 homes and businesses, led to school cancellations, and plunged rescuers into a complex effort to safely remove the people on board. Both the pilot and passenger were pulled from the plane and onto large buckets attached to towering cranes shortly after midnight. Montgomery County Fire Chief Scott Goldstein said the pilot and passenger suffered orthopedic injuries, trauma, and had hypothermia issues. Both of them assisted us in their movement from the aircraft. And before they were extricated, Goldstein said technicians had to conduct bonding and grounding operations to make the tower safe. Doing so took about an hour, and they finished up with that about 11:30 p.m. on Sunday. The technicians and rescuers then secured the airplane to the tower. The plane was removed about 3 a.m. Monday morning, hours after power was restored at 1:34. The first victim, a woman, was pulled from the plane at 12:25 a.m. Let's see, residents who had spent hours watching the incident play out clapped as she was lowered down in a bucket. The second occupant, a man, the pilot, came down about 11 minutes later. So let's tell you a little bit about this. This is a Mooney Let's see. The identifier of the Mooney was. I have
Is
it
it
here
on here?
somewhere.
Is it on that flight aware?
Yeah, it's somewhere, I think, but probably clipped that off. But anyway,
Okay.
it was M201 Juliet, I think. I still can't find it. But hey, that's all right. I'm not going to go back and edit this, as I mentioned. We're just going straight through. Anyway, somewhere in the show notes, maybe you'll see the identifier of this. I thought I had a picture of this Mooney with the tail number on the back, but apparently it somehow didn't make my folder. Okay. Anyway, so this airplane is based in Montgomery County Air Park near Gaithersburg, Maryland. The pilot and his friend, both in their 60s, I believe, maybe mid to late 60s, flew from Montgomery County Air Park up to White Plains, and Liz is showing the slide of the path on
Were they going to visit
no,
Roger?
FlightAware. I think they were, yeah. Yeah, Roger's up there in White Plains. I don't know. They may have, because they were up there for a few hours before they returned. And this is the plot of the route that they took on the way back. And I believe it was already dark. You know, it gets dark kind of early this time of year. And so that shows their track almost due west out of White Plains, avoiding the greater New York City area, and then by down through southeastern Pennsylvania, and then into Maryland. And there's a little part of their path that I probably should have done a little zoom in thing on that kind of shows it making this turn like 90 degrees to the right, so kind of to the northwest, and then kind of circling back around in a counterclockwise or anti-clockwise manner back on a track to one of the fixes on the approach, RNAV approach that they were going to perform to runway 14 at the Montgomery County Airport in Gaithersburg. And some people were wondering, there are some audio recordings here regarding this exchange that air traffic control had with the Mooney pilot. And I have a little more information about that after we listen to the audio recording. So let me go ahead and play that. Here we go.
1 Romeo Fox, I'm showing you made a northwestbound turn. You can turn left turn heading 240 and able to direct to Bedcuff. Yeah, I'm showing you on like a 340 heading right now. Or 1 Romeo Fox, you might have it spelled incorrectly. Bedcuff for me for 201 Romeo Fox heading 230 would put you right direct Bedcuff. 1 Romeo Fox, it looks like you made a southbound turn again. You're southeastbound now. I'm showing a heading of about 175.
Okay, that was it for that recording. So that was that part of their flight from
That little
White
kink.
Plains, New York. Yeah, a little kink in the path. Again, that'll be in the show notes that you can see that little thing. And some people are thinking, what's going on? You know, does this person not know how to do their auto flight system or fly an airplane, in IFR? Or are they really rusty? What's going on here? Let's see, where did I read this? I think it was on one of these videos. It could be that one that I have here from the AOPA, the video that kind of goes over the analysis of, Mooney M20J. Yep, M20 Juliet was the registration number on it. That they must have been, no, I'm sorry, that's the model, M20J. I still don't know here it is right there in front of me. November 201 Romeo Foxtrot was the tail number. So they thought, what's going on here? Well, in the comments on this video, the YouTube video, somebody said, he said, proceed directly to this fix, right? He said, Becca, and that's spelled Begka. Now, I don't know if the controller actually spelled that. That's not part of the recording that I have access to or not. But somebody pointed out that not very far from where that Mooney was on that flight path, To the northwest of the position of the Mooney at that point was a fix, which was BECKA, Becca.
Oh, wow.
And so instead of BEGKA, it's BECKA. And if he had entered that into his flight management computer, it would have definitely made a right turn and headed right up exactly the way that the path on FlightAware is showing. And then finally, the exchange with air traffic control got him going back in the correct direction. So that makes sense. That's why it was just a spelling error, apparently. Anyway, he continued his flight to the Montgomery County Air Park, and it's at night. The ceiling is down to 500 feet or lower, low ceiling. Visibility was just over a mile, I believe. So conditions are deteriorating. Definitely IMC, instrument meteorological conditions, at the time. He, as far as everybody knows, is a fully rated instrument flight rules pilot, IFR certificated or rated pilot. And so he's going to fly this RNAV approach. Now, I don't know at this point whether he was going to fly you can put that approach plate up, Liz, if you don't mind, from the slides. If there are a couple of different ways to fly this approach, and one of them is called RNP. Oh, heck, where did the thing go? Now I'm trying to find my copy of that approach plate. Well, there it is. There's an LPV. I think I say that wrong every now and then. An LPV minimums, which is kind of like a ILS approach. Gives you a glide path and track information. That takes you down to 269 feet above ground, or 789 mean sea level altitude. I don't know if that was the DA or the type of approach he was flying here, or if he was flying like the non-precision method, just the LNAV minimums, which look like take you down to 460 feet above ground. So either one of those probably would have gotten him right below that published or reported cloud layer at 500 feet, just barely. So he would have gone just below that cloud and saw things on the ground, lights and that kind of thing. But again, not great visibility. And when he switched over to the CTAF frequency for Montgomery County Air Park, the center controller, or maybe the approach control, probably the approach controller, noticed that his altitude was a little bit low, and here's a recording of that.
And low altitude alert, small altimeter is 2944.
Okay, so there was alert. He likely didn't hear that low altitude alert because he had already switched frequency to the CTAF. They're guessing. Of course, the good thing about this whole thing is that both people in the airplane are alive and in pretty good condition. There were some minor injuries, but not life-threatening injuries.
Do you think that plane will be flyable again, Jeff? From what
I
you
don't
can
think
see
so.
there?
It looks
No.
pretty looks pretty totaled to me. I don't know. Maybe somebody out there that has more experience with that kind of thing can let us know whether they believe that this thing is going to be, fixable and flyable again. But it looks in pretty bad shape to me.
Yeah.
I think the whole engine was ripped off from the firewall on the front of
okay.
the airplane
That's not
there.
good.
So, which you can't really see in these pictures.
No.
And then let's play a little bit of the 911 call that the pilot, what's his name again, Patrick Merkel, made to Montgomery County 911.
Montgomery County 911, what's the address of the emergency?
I've flown into a tower to the northwest of Gaithersburg Airport. It's one of the electrical towers, and believe it or not, the aircraft is pinned in the tower. And I don't know how long we're going to be able to stay here, and I don't know.
Wait, are you the airplane pilot?
Yeah, I'm the pilot.
Okay, stay
I'm
on the
in
line with me. Okay, and you said it's the northwest part of the airport?
That's correct. We're northwest of Gaithersburg.
And you said that you're pinned?
We are in the tower. We are
You're
still
in
in
the
the
tower.
plane, and we are in now we've got a light that's coming at us, and if they can get a ladder truck up here, I don't know if it can reach this high. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm very concerned about
here
my
with you.
passenger. She was hurt. Yeah.
How many people are on board?
We have 2 people on board. I've got, I think we got head injuries from being banged around in the cockpit.
Okay. Is the other person awake and breathing?
Yes.
I'm just going to stay on the line with you in the meantime, okay?
Well, that's fine. I'm just concerned about our articulation and the possibility that we could slip out of this tower and go tail first to the ground, and that would not be a survivable distance.
Okay. And you do see the fire trucks in the police department there, correct?
Yes.
Okay, they're working on stabilizing everything and getting up to you guys, okay?
I have a bloody nose, and I also have a little scrape on the left side of my head.
Okay.
And here's what I'm worried about. We're getting some serious wind.
Are they doing anything yet? They're working on getting up to you guys. I know I keep on telling you that. That's the only update I have at this point. I can try to get one of the firefighters over here and see if they have more information on their end. I'm only reading from the notes in front of my screen here.
Okay, you heard the voice of the passenger, Jan
yeah.
Williams, 66 of Louisiana, and Patrick, the pilot, 65 of Washington. Now, interestingly, on another news source that I found, they had a little bit more of the transcript of the exchange with Montgomery County 911. And I don't know what the context is here because I don't know what the question was, but the Mooney pilot, Patrick, said, "Totally a visibility issue. We were looking for the airport. I descended to the minimum altitude, and then apparently I got down a little bit lower than I should have." So
Oops.
they hit the tower about the 100-foot level. So I mean, he's down really close to the ground, and that's why he hit this tower. I mean, he's 2.7 nautical miles from the end of the runway, so about 3 statute miles or so. So, not as close to the airport maybe as he thought. I have a feeling what happened. Again, this is all totally speculation. That he was tracking on this RNAV and got down below the cloud layer, right at minimums basically, or right above minimums, and then was just flying around looking for something that looked familiar, looked like an airport or runway or whatever, and then he just slammed right into this tower because of his visibility was horrible. And it's a miracle, I think, that and you were talking about this, Liz, that before we started recording the show, that it's really kind of a miracle that they weren't electrocuted. Although that's actually what I said. Liz, you said that.
Well, I said I didn't think they were grounded, but now he's saying they were tangled right in the tower, which means that I was wrong because I thought they were in the wires. Like I thought they were just hanging in the wires. But
that's what it looks like to me in the pictures. I don't know.
Yeah, if they were, I mean, they wouldn't get electrocuted unless the current found a ground. So, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I'm not sure. So I
guess
think I think that he must have hit the wires at first, and then somehow got lodged into the.
He is wedged in the tower
itself.
there. You can see how he is. But
Yeah.
anyway, thank goodness they
I don't
weren't
know how.
electrocuted. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And they had to spend that hour and a half or whatever it was.
They could have had
kind of shut off power.
Oh, it was more than an hour and a half, wasn't it? 7 hours that they were.
Well, I mean, I think that they had to before the rescuers could go up there and try
could
to
even
get them out
approach.
Of the airplane.
Yeah.
I mean, just the procedure to turn off the power and bond or whatever the cables took quite a lot of time.
I believe Hillel, who is often in your shower, often flies in and out of that airport. I think that's quite a local airport to him. So I think he knows.
I think
it
you're
quite
right.
well.
I think you're right. Maybe he has some more information to add to this whole story. Interestingly, in this particular article from which I'm reading, and I think this is the one from the Washington Post, that I have it highlighted here, Liz. A DC pilot with the same name and age survived at least one crash before. On August
Oh.
4th, 1992, a single-engine plane piloted by Patrick Merkel struck the side of a mountain in Farmington Canyon, Utah, according to an account in the Salt Lake Tribune. Part of the wings and tail section were ripped off as the plane flew through pine trees, the newspaper account said,
Wow.
and the fuselage crashed into the side of the mountain.
So that's 30
So-
years ago. So he was in his 30s then when that one happened.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is not his first rodeo. I
no.
mean, airplane crash.
Yeah.
And apparently in both cases, he got out of it relatively unscathed.
Maybe he's gone to buy a lottery ticket now.
Yeah, no kidding. Anyway, so that was something you don't normally see.
No,
Do you?
that's a goodie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else to
No,
say
that's
about
it.
that
We're
before we move
almost
on?
at the half-hour mark. We're just a couple of minutes to the half-hour mark, just so you know.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's something that Liz will usually say to me that you don't hear, and
Yeah.
neither do
It's exciting,
the
isn't
rest
it?
of the crew. Yes, it's exciting. They're getting a peek behind the scenes.
Well, the
All right,
curtain has been.
Second. Yeah, don't show them too much though.
No.
Got to tease. Let's see. News incident. SkyWest E-175 at Newark on November 21st, 2022. Pitch trim runaway. And this is from the Aviation Herald. A SkyWest Embraer 175 on behalf of Delta Airlines, registration November 603 Charlie Zulu, performing flight 3700 from Newark, New Jersey to Minneapolis, Minnesota with 81 people on board, was climbing through about 3,700 feet out of Newark's runway 22 right when the crew declared an emergency, reporting a pitch trim runaway. And they needed to return to Newark immediately. The aircraft positioned for an approach to Newark's runway 22 left, cleared to land on runway 22 left. When established on final approach, Tower requested them to sidestep to runway 22 right due to separation to the preceding landing aircraft becoming too close, and cleared them to land on runway 22 right. The aircraft landed safely on runway 22 right about 12 minutes after departure. Okay, and the reason why Liz kind of picked this out, she thought it was interesting because of the fact that they had them sidestep to a parallel runway, and this is the emergency aircraft with the pitch trim runaway. And there are a lot of comments.
Is it kind
in
of
the
odd
Aviation
that they
Herald.
did that to you? Is
Yeah,
that
I
kind
thought
of
so.
strange?
I
Okay.
thought that was, once you're established and you have you have your hands full with an abnormal flight control issue, probably flying faster than normal because, you're not able to, when you change speeds in an airplane, you have the trim to trim out all the heavy control pressures that you would normally have to hold if you didn't have the capability of trimming some of these control surfaces. And so they're having to basically fly the airplane at a speed that, so you don't, the loads aren't too high. So you have a little bit of, controllability, but that's generally going to be mean that, normally you'd be at a slower speed coming in for landing and you'd have your flaps out and your gear down, and you want to be as slow as you can be, right? Because you have a lot of energy you have to dissipate. But because the pitch trim ran away, that means that you're holding a lot of force on the control yoke, and so to kind of help alleviate some of that pressure, they're probably flying a lot faster than they normally would on this approach. I don't have any of the radio exchange, or I haven't heard it myself. I did look for it, but I couldn't find it. So I don't know exactly how this whole exchange occurred with the tower controller, giving him clearance to land on 22 left, letting him know that there's a preceding 737 on the runway that hasn't cleared yet. And I don't know why at some point before this, the tower controller didn't say, hey, let's move this 737 out of the way, have them go around, clear the airport, bring them back around for another approach, so that this emergency aircraft, which should have that priority, could, stay on the runway that they briefed and they're, all set up for, and they're on final approach for. Now, it wasn't super close, wasn't short final. I think it was between 2 and 3 miles from landing. But still, a lot of people are going to argue, you don't do that. The emergency aircraft has the priority. They should have stuck with letting them land on 22 left and not made them sidestep to 22 right. And the only
So they would have potentially made the preceding airplane go around, like get out of the
Yeah.
way, and let these
Right.
guys go straight in.
Yeah. And if I were the preceding aircraft, listening to the radio and not just listening to communications that are prepended with my call sign, and a lot of you out there, you know what I'm talking about. Either you do it or hopefully not, because you listen to our show, and so you're smarter and more capable pilot than normal. But there are a lot of people out there, probably most of the people that aren't listening to our show, who don't really hear or listen to anything else going on in the frequency unless it's preceded by their call sign. And those people really frustrate me. But if I were that 737 guy and heard that I got an emergency airplane behind me, and I could hear that this was kind of becoming a situation where this guy is going to have to do something different behind me, I may have volunteered, hey, tower, I can go around. You want me to go around and move out of the way so that guy can land on the runway that you've cleared him to land on? Again, I wasn't there. I haven't heard the radio exchange, so maybe there was that kind of exchange going on. I don't know. And the only positive thing that I can say, right offhand anyway, knowing what I know, which is not much, for landing and sidestepping, I mean, not in general, I mean, of this incident, but maybe you could apply that to my knowledge level in general as well, is that if you sidestep to 22 right, and I looked at the approach plate and the airport diagram for these two runways at Newark, both of which I've used many, many times in my career. The takeoff runway, in general, they're normally a little bit longer runway. It does have a displaced threshold, so it's not, as long as what you see, printed as the actual length of the runway. So it's a little bit shorter, but about 1,000, 1,500 feet longer than 22 left. So the sidestep maneuver did give them a little extra runway to land on. So that's, I think, I would say a positive.
Right.
Obviously, the captain thought that in this situation, it wasn't an unsafe maneuver to make the sidestep to 22 right and land on that runway. So, again, maybe there's more information that's become available since this was published, and maybe somebody out there listening knows something more about this than we do here at APG. But
Fill us in.
that was my impression, Liz, and because you were curious because you're thinking, yeah, they should have been given priority and just cleared everybody out of the way, right? Because that's what an emergency, when declaring an emergency or Mayday does, is it kind of gives you ultimate priority over anything. And honestly, the captain can do whatever he deems is the best thing to do and the safest thing to do. So, I mean, if he didn't think that the 737 ahead on the runway was going to be a safety issue, he could have, using his emergency authority, continued to land on 22 left. But I'm guessing that he analyzed the situation and thought, I can make this little. The runways are not that far apart. It's not like they're one's on one side of the airport and one's on the other side of the airport, like say some of the runways are in Toronto, Pearson. Where they're quite a ways apart. They're relatively close together, so it's not like they're making a huge maneuver to sidestep to another runway. And I think the conditions at the time were VMC, visual meteorological conditions. So
well, it turned out
not
fine.
like they were
It
in
was
the
just
weather.
interesting to me. That's all.
Yeah, you're right though. That question that you had, like, should they have done that? Shouldn't they have moved the other guy around or whatever? And I think they should have. Yes. All right.
Okie dokie. Next.
Now here is an airline with some flair,
Yeah.
or maybe they flared too high. I don't know. It's a flare.
This is an
FLAIR.
ultra low cost Canadian airline.
Okay, ultra low cost Canadian airline. Oh, I don't have to repeat what you're saying, Liz. Everybody can hear you. A Flair airline, again from the Aviation Herald. A Flair Airlines Boeing 737-800 registration Charlie Foxtrot Lima Charlie, performing flight 501 from Vancouver, BC to Kitchener.
Kitchener.
Is that the way you pronounce it?
Kitchener.
Kitchener.
Yep, about
Ontario.
60 miles west of Toronto or so.
Okay. With 134 passengers and 6 crew, landed on Kitchener's runway 26 at 6:25 local time. in the morning, but overran the end of the runway and came to a stop with all gear on soft ground about 140 meters or 470 feet past the runway end. There were no injuries. The aircraft sustained minor, if any, damage. The passengers disembarked via stairs and were bused to the terminal. Canada's TSB have dispatched investigators to the site. And let's see, I'm scrolling through some notams here. I think most of these have occurred after the incident. Looks like the weather there at the time was anywhere from broken to overcast to few to scattered. So I can't really tell. Let's see, what time did they say? 6:25
in the
local
morning,
time.
I think.
11:25 Z. So let me see if I can find the METAR that's closest to 11:25. Looks like this one here at 13:19. Winds were 300 degrees, 19 gusting 27. So it's kind of windy. Good visibility, 9 statute miles. 1,200 broken, 1,700 overcast. So it's not a beautiful VFR kind of day. It's definitely flying an instrument approach. Temperature 4, dew point 2. So, they're flying an instrument approach. All runways and taxiways are wet. So possibly a little slippery. Oh, here's the one that's actually highlighted for the time frame that they landed. Yeah, light rain, 3 miles visibility, 600 over. So it's a Category 1 ILS approach. And I don't know how they managed to do it, but I don't know if they landed long or they had some kind of a malfunction with the airplane as far as, adding some friction to stop before they went sailing off the end of the runway. If you're wondering about the runway itself, looks like the runway is 7,000 feet long by 150 feet wide. And so that should be sufficient for that type of aircraft. If you touch down in the touchdown zone and you have fully operating thrust reversers and brakes, reverse gear.
Yes.
And thrust reverse and landing. Your brakes are working just fine. So that's all we know at this point. I don't know if there are any updates.
I'm assuming that it's probably an older aircraft. I think these startup airlines acquire older aircraft. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but it does mean maybe that they could have had some mechanical. Who knows? I don't know.
Possibly. And it's a 737-800, so it's one of the new generation airplanes. I mean, yeah,
Right.
you're right. It could
Yeah.
be. I mean, they've been around for a while, so could be that there was some kind of a mechanical. But you can have a mechanical issue on a brand new airplane
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if it was operator error. They just touched down too long, or they delayed in getting the reversers out, or I don't know. So hopefully
We'll
we'll
watch
hear
for the report.
an update. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Here's a sad one. The next item D. A death toll rises to 4 in Snohomish County plane crash. The aircraft broke apart in midair. Now, here's an interesting one. I believe, well, I know for sure that the airplane involved here was a Caravan, a Cessna 208 Bravo, crashed at around 10:20 a.m. east of Harvey Field Airport in Snohomish County after about an hour after taking off from Renton, Washington. And at first, I think they thought that they were flying this particular flight as a test flight. Why don't you show that next one, Liz, again?
Yeah.
It shows the kind of the flight path in a 3-dimensional manner, doing all kinds of flying in circles and different patterns and going up and down vertically, doing some kind of a testing maneuver. The Caravan has I kind of wish that Steph was on because she is checked out on a Caravan. It has an underbelly pod for luggage and cargo, that kind of thing. I believe that a couple of the people that were basically chartering this flight or renting this airplane or whatever are from a company called, see if I can find the name of the company here, Reister or something like that. I can't find it. I should have highlighted it. Anyway, it's a company that makes modifications to these underbody pods that you see commonly on the caravans.
Raisbeck, wasn't it?
Raisbeck
Engineering.
Yeah, Raisbeck.
Raisbeck Engineering.
And at first, I think they thought that maybe they had one of the ones that they make and modified on it, but apparently, no. This particular airplane had the OEM, the original underbody thing on the bottom of the Caravan, and they were doing maybe like setting some baselines for performance and speeds and stall speeds and that kind of thing. And obviously something went wrong during these maneuvers, and one of the witnesses said that they were at the Snohomish golf course on Friday morning when he heard a pop and looked south and saw the plane emitting lots of smoke. It was spiraling down, and then it was followed by a detached wing. So, based on the witness report, at least this one, and probably more, looks like whatever they were doing with the airplane caused the wing to break off. And I can tell you, I've never experienced that before. I never hope to.
You don't
but
want
I can tell you that's not something you want to do. No. The airplane doesn't fly really, really well with only one wing. And so they're still investigating this particular incident. And I guess at first they thought there were 2 on board, but now apparently they've determined that 4 people in total were on the airplane and lost their lives. That helicopter crash, Liz, I think I might
We'll skip that. Yep.
skip. Yeah.
Yep.
I meant to mention that before, but we can
That's
move.
fine.
Oh, you know what? And also the next one, the F. Let's
Yep.
save that for Steph
For Steph,
because it
that's fine.
involves a
Yep.
medical incident.
Yep.
Very interesting, I thought. But we could talk about this, Liz. This
Let's
last
talk
one in
about
the
this
news.
one. Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to cover it, or you want me to continue?
No, you keep going. You keep going.
Okay. So let's see who. Oh, I know where this is from. I knew it. Paddle your own canoe. I do love these stories, though. Don't get me wrong. There's a picture here of this beautiful woman in this amazing dress. A French bride recently got married in the heart of romantic Paris, but she was keen to get her honeymoon underway, and then she immediately eloped to the airport with her new husband and jumped on a flight to Venice while she was still wearing her enormous wedding dress. Now,
Wouldn't you like to be sitting next to her in that dress on the plane?
Well, I don't know. I mean, she's pretty attractive.
No, but
But I would imagine that since she was just married, minutes or hours before, she probably wouldn't have any interest in any other man. So, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, that thing would be. I don't know what would they do with all that dress?
well, some of those dresses have a detachable. Like sometimes the train is detachable. I don't know, but anyway, who
Could be.
knows?
But then it wouldn't be a really good.
Wouldn't be a
news
story
would it?
though. No. Mm-mm.
Now, the term elope, I always thought that
Yeah.
meant
I
Not-
agree.
getting
No.
married. You and your partner.
Well,
you
you
know,
run away to get married. You don't
run
do
away,
it.
yeah.
Like she'd already had a ceremony, so she's not eloping to the airport. She's
Yeah, I
just
don't
going.
think that's the appropriate word. I even looked it up. and
Probably
I
a translation.
pasted
Well,
it.
no, I don't think it is a translation. But anyway,
I
who
don't think
knows?
so. I think whoever wrote this, if you're listening to our show,
Yeah.
that was not the right word to use.
No.
Anyway.
Wrong word.
In fact, it wasn't just the plane that the bride continued to wear her wedding dress on, posing for some pretty stunning wedding photos close to St. Mark's Square and in other famous spots throughout Venice. Okay, this whole structure of these paragraphs is frustrating for me.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah. The bride, who is an entrepreneur, keen traveler, and founder of the luxury M Concept store, never heard of it, sent a video of her unusual flight to Air France, who couldn't help but share the video with its 1.2 million Instagram followers. Liz, do you know, do we have that many followers on our Instagram?
Oh, I'm sure we do, Jeff. I mean, we post so much content up there. We
Well, I'm
must
hoping
have.
so. Well, if not, you out there, come on, get on the stick and follow us
Subscribe.
on Instagram. Or do we have something on Instagram? I don't even know if we have.
Not much.
Is that the thing that Steph says she's always going to update?
I think Nick does try and put up the weekly cover art
okay.
on there, but
Okay.
that's
Yeah.
about it.
So we probably have at least 1.2 million followers.
I'm sure.
Anyway, on her own Instagram page, Geraldine also shared photos of her journey with Air France and through Charles de Gaulle Airport. I did it, Geraldine wrote to accompany a video of her running through the airport in her designer La Marie Capricieuse gown. I have no idea. How would you pronounce that?
Capricieuse.
Oh, nice. Ooh la la. She shared the hashtag take off for a new life to go with the video. If you're searching for the man of your life, never stop believing, she wrote. Wow. That's something else.
It's very inspirational, eh?
Yeah. And this is, and here's another quote from her. Because there might be a day or a night, maybe when you least expect it, it'll hit you in the corner of your face without screaming. This must be,
That's
she must be
straight.
French, and it must be
She
some
is
kind of a
French, yeah.
translation to
yeah.
English that just doesn't really work.
I think maybe it's like slap in the face might be better. But slap
Okay.
you in your face.
Oh, like you'd scream without somebody hitting you, and like slapping you in the face.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, not
I just
really
thought it was
aviation, but
fun.
interesting. I think.
Yeah, sort of. There was an airplane in there and an airport. Okay.
And an
That
attractive
qualifies.
woman.
Yeah. We all like that. All right.
Yeah.
Well, most of us anyway. All right. What do you think we get on with the getting to
Yeah.
know us? Here we
You.
go.
Getting to know you.
Getting to know me. Oh, I could use the real words. Getting to know all about me. Getting to like me. Getting to hope you'll like me too. All right. Getting to know us, me, you, everybody, the part of the show where we kind of get caught up with what's been happening. I've already kind of done a little bit of that at the beginning of the show, but let's say I've flown. What did I fly? I think the last time we did a show was that before Thanksgiving or after?
Yes. It was before Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay. Guess what? It was before Thanksgiving. So I did spend Thanksgiving with my favorite first officer, Brent, and his family up in Cartersville, Georgia. And that was a lot of fun. Oh, it's beautiful. I'm looking out the window here in my hotel room, and the big giant snowflakes are falling out of the sky here in
I
Madison,
lied,
Wisconsin.
Jeff. We did the last show on Black Friday.
Oh, that's right. We did it after Thanksgiving. And I think I do
That we
remember
did,
now
yeah.
talking about my experience with Brent and his
Correct.
family. Okay.
Yeah, and his mom.
Yeah, and his mom and all that, and amazing amounts of food and all that kind of thing. Let's see, and then the next week, I was pretty much off until Thursday of the next week, and busy though. I wasn't just sitting there twiddling my thumbs. I was, busy with this latest house closure thing and all the other things happening in my life. So, I left on a trip on Thursday through Saturday, and it wasn't with Brent. It was with a relatively new pilot for Acme, and she was great. Her name's Courtney. I won't give her last name. I got to keep the innocent, the reputation of the innocent.
Names have been
intact.
changed to protect the innocent.
Exactly. And anyway, it was a lot of fun. Great person, and I was reminded once again. Now, please don't take this the wrong way, dear listener. If you only fly on the weekends, I'm not talking about you. But there is a certain higher percentage on the weekends that don't fly during the week. People that probably don't fly as often.
Not your
as
business traveler.
Not business travelers for sure. And and later in the day, there was this gate agent in Atlanta that she was just horrible with passengers, and I'm thinking that's not the kind of job you should have when you interact with people. Even interacting with me, I walked out there. We brought the jet in. We were going to take it back out to wherever we were going, and and she looks over at me, and then she points to the printer with like, I don't know how many tens of feet of flight plan are all over the ground on the floor. There's your flight plan. Usually, I think it's actually part of their job. They're supposed to take the thing and fold it up and
That
hand it
was
to us.
helpful.
And oh, it was very helpful. Yeah, there's your flight plan. Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you. And then I'm listening to these interactions she's having with passengers. One passenger has 3 items. You can only have 2. And she was all upset because her bag, the big bag that the gate agent wanted her to check, had her not oxygen, nebulizer or something, and had lithium batteries. And she goes, "Well, you're not allowed to take, check the lithium batteries, right?" And I said, "Yes, you'd have to take those out." And I'm trying not to get too involved here, but poor lady, she's just getting snapped at and snarked at by the gate agent. And I'm thinking, maybe you should do a different job here at Acme. But and then this guy comes walking up, very large gentleman, and you can tell that he's almost been running or walking very quickly or whatever. He's just a sweat
Breathless.
ball and breathless, and he walks up to I'm behind the counter folding up my flight plan that's been all over the floor, and he shows up, and I think he's got his passport or something and tickets in his hand. He goes, boom, he slams it on the counter. "We got a problem." I'm like, oh gosh, I don't want
Oh,
to be
boy.
part of this.
Are you
And
waiting
I'm
for the
thinking, oh,
explosion?
yeah, I'm thinking, I don't want to be here. I want to be anywhere but here right now. And she goes, what, not, this is what a good agent would say. "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. What happened? What can we help you with?" No, it was like, "Well, you got it. You made it here." Apparently, he said that the airline had misposted the gate for this flight to Dulles, Washington International. Well, and he said it was all like B-33, like the end of the concourse and B. And I'm thinking to myself, the airplane that I fly at the Atlanta International Airport, we never operate out of B. So that flight that he looked up on the screens was probably Washington National Airport,
Oh,
not Washington Dulles Airport. And I think when he finally got to the gate, somebody informed him that no, that's not the flight that you're looking for. That's in 2 concourses over. So you better get going because they're in the midst of their boarding process. Anyway, so basically he screwed up. He looked at the wrong flight, the wrong gate, and I didn't want to say that to him, so I just kept my mouth shut. He was still bitching and moaning, getting off the airplane up in Washington
wow.
Dulles.
really?
Luckily, he wasn't completely crazy, and he wasn't one of those people that we cover on the
Yes.
show with bad
Right.
passenger behavior. So I guess he
Did
behaved
you not see
himself.
another crew member on that trip?
What do you mean?
Dr. Steph?
On that trip? I thought you meant that
Yes.
flight. No,
No,
I
that
don't
trip.
remember Dr. Steph on my flight from Atlanta to. Yes, I did. The day one.
Day one, yeah.
At the
day
end
one.
of the day, I happened to end up in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I got to see one of the APG crew members, co-host Dr. Steph.
Not
And
that we
she
have
picked me up.
pictures or recording or anything, but
Well, again, you got to protect the innocent, Liz. So I'm
anyway,
thinking,
that's nice.
it would have been completely unflattering pictures of Dr. Steph and not appropriate behavior. So, no, I'm just kidding. Steph, she always looks good in the pictures. There's no such thing as an
Always.
unflattering photo. But yeah, so I got to meet up with her. We went to a place that we had been to before, Bulla, Bulla, next to Cowfish. I know these are interesting names for restaurants, but not far from the hotel that we stay in the South Park area of Charlotte. So enjoyed that, and yeah, pretty decent trip. And then I was off. Got home on Saturday, sang at my church for the vigil mass, and then the next day, Sunday, sang my usual 1, 2, 3, 4 masses, and got to see my youngest daughter again for a little period. Had a lunch with her on Sunday afternoon, and then got back to the house and packed up the bag and set out for this trip that I'm on right now, a 3-day trip, early morning. In fact, so early when Brent, my favorite first officer, showed up, I looked over at Brent and I said, "Did we see that the sign-in time for this trip is 6:15 or 6:21? It's like really early in the morning." He goes, "Yeah, apparently that was something we overlooked." And we're doing the same trip again on next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But it's a pretty good trip other than some very, very early mornings. We ended up in Evansville, Indiana, yesterday.
night.
Never been there. Yeah, last night. And Dad headed from Atlanta to Evansville. And then this morning, kind of crappy weather there, low visibility, low ceilings, tower closed, procedures. And I said to Brent, "Yeah, this is not ideal. I've never, ever been to this airport, and I didn't even fly into the airport. So it was kind of unusual. But we managed to find the taxiways to the correct runway and launched ourselves into the sky before the tower opened up and got ourselves to Atlanta. So, and now we're here in Madison. So I asked Brent if he wanted to join us on the show, and I think based on his last experience with us,
He was way too talkative the last time. Way too
yeah,
talkative.
I told him, "Look, I'd like to have you join us, Brent, but you just like
Monopolized the show. Yeah.
the conversation. Nobody could get a word in edgewise." Just kidding, of course.
Right.
But so anyway, he has some other things that some tasks that he has to do, and we're going to meet up.
That's
after
what
we
he
finish
told
this
you anyway.
recording. That's what that was his excuse. Anyway,
So maybe some cover art now from the last show?
yeah. Why don't we show the cover art from the last show? And the title of the show, Bang Bang Chicken. And again, Captain Nick, did an amazing job with the cover art there. So how do
I
we
just
describe
love
it
the
to those
chicken
who
with
are-
the machine gun. I
Yeah,
don't
there's
know
a
why
chicken
that
with a
really
machine
makes me laugh.
gun. What's the name of the sheriff? The
Yosemite
cartoon?
Sam.
Yosemite Sam. He's got both pistols out and blazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's got a
But his
nice,
APG merch, he's wearing his APG hat.
He does have his APG hat on the APG logo on the brim.
And then there's
and,
Foghorn Leghorn there. Is
Mhm.
there?
It looks like sort of like the OK Corral or one of those settings in the old West, Wild West,
Right. Yeah.
and some kind of shootout going on. That's obviously why, Bang Bang Chicken. Of course, that has nothing to do with Bang Bang Chicken that we talked about on the last show. I think it had something to do more with like eating, like a chicken preparation, right? I think.
No, it was about the woman that had the gun in the raw
Oh,
chicken,
yeah.
trying to get it through
It did
TSA.
have something to do with it did have something to do with guns and chickens. Yeah, the raw chicken. Okay, good point. I've already dumped all that. I've forgotten completely what we were talking about. Anyway, another great job, Nick. Thank you. So check that out. It should be, on episode 546. That's in the show
546,
notes.
Yep.
Yeah. So when you're listening to that episode on your podcast client software, or you want to go to our website, airlinepilotguy.com, you can see the cover art there.
Sorry.
Oh, no
1
problem.
hour marks.
1 hour mark. Again, see, that's the stuff I hear. I don't even hear it anymore, hardly.
Sorry, I usually turn it off, but I didn't that time. I got
No, you don't.
No, I don't. I try to. I do
Yeah.
try.
Sometimes you do. That's all right. As I said, I'm used to it. That's the stuff that, I don't even hear anymore.
Coffee
Let's see.
fun time.
We do have coffee fun stuff. So let's do that. Let's sing.
This would be great with the latency.
Johnny, how much more coffee?
No thanks.
I love coffee, I love tea, I love the APG community. Coffee and tea, and the Java and me. A cup, a cup, a cup, a cup, a cup.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Coffee fun. That's your way, dear listener, watcher, person, to support us in a financial way. Lots of ways to support us, telling people about the show, sending us in feedback, all that stuff. But these people actually put their money where their mouth is, or where their podcast client finger pushing. I don't know where I'm going with that. Anyway, So, a couple different ways to do that. One is called the Coffee Fund Classic Method. And since the last show, one-off donations to the show from Paul Brinkley. Thank you, Paul. And of course, we've seen this guy before, Mazuz Karim, sends in another nice contribution. Thank you very much. We do
And
appreciate
some feedback
your
on the
support.
show.
Oh, hey, yeah, some feedback as well. Cool. All right. And also, you can become a patron of the show. And since the last episode, we have Ed, who is already a patron, but he went from the second lowest category to the highest level of patronage.
Wow,
He's a
Ed.
senior executive producer. He doubled his weekly pledge. Wow, you are amazing, Ed. I put his name in like big letters. Ed.
Ed is the man.
Thank you.
He's the man.
You are the man. Here, that deserves this. An applause. Way to go, Ed. Thank you very much. We do appreciate it. We several patrons have decided to go away, so that really helped to make up for that loss, Ed. So thank you very much. It's a revolving door of patrons. If you want to check out Patreon, head over to Airline Pilot Guy. No, don't do that. Well, you could do that. You can go to airlinepilotguy.com/coffee, and then that'll take you to Patreon or the PayPal site. Or you can go directly to Patreon by going to patreon.com/airlinepilotguy. And as I like to say, you'll be glad you did, and we will too. Especially we will be very happy with you if you do that. All right. So now is the
I'll
point
be right
of the show
back, Jeff.
where
I'm
we...
just going to
Okay.
let Poppy out just for a sec. I'll be
Okay.
right back.
Very good. I'll just keep on going while you're doing that. And I'm going to play this thing here, the feedback sounder.
Captain, incoming message.
Sorry if that was too loud. It was kind of loud in my ears. Anyway, we'll start off with some audio feedback from Simon. And he said, hello, APG. Just sending you a little bit of audio feedback regarding the steer fail, STEER fail on the E175, the Embraer 175, after the recent news item on an AAIB, Air Accidents Investigation Branch
back.
report. Hey, welcome back, Liz. Hope it's not too dull, and as ever, don't feel obliged to use it. Well, too late, Simon. We feel obliged. No, it's good feedback. He says, thanks as ever for the brilliant show. So let's listen to Simon's audio feedback. Here we go.
Hello, APG crew. It's Simon here from the UK. Got a little bit of feedback for you regarding APG 541, specifically the Eastern Embraer 175, which landed with the horizontal stabilizer issue and then subsequently had a steer fail on landing. And it's particularly regarding the steer fail, where I know you guys were perhaps a little bit critical of the crew and their decision making there. And I personally felt that was maybe a little bit harsh, particularly if we remember the words of Captain Dana, who always used to say he didn't want to, Monday morning quarterbacking, I think. So let's have a think about why I'm perhaps taking a slightly different tack on this one. Steering system on the Embraer is simple enough, but it's different to an Airbus or a Boeing. There's no steering bypass pin on here. Instead, we've got a switch on the side of the fuselage. It's in the same cupboard that they connect the AC power to. And by turning that switch off, it achieves the same as a steering bypass pin. Now, the way that they know that the steering's bypassed is there's a green light on the nose gear. As long as that switch is in the off position and the parking brake is released and the crew aren't applying any pressure to the brake pedals and there are no system problems, then the green light comes on. So that's the equivalent of having the bypass pin installed. Additionally, the crew have got a switch on the rear of the control column. It's kind of in the same location that you might find the transmit switch on a lot of aircraft. So it's by your index finger. The first officer has one, captain has one. And the way that switch is used is you instinctively pull it if there are any problems at all with the steering, say a steering runaway. And it puts the system into a freewheel castering mode. which is the mode that Jeff talked about. Also, the steering can be controlled through the rudder pedals or through a steering tiller. If you want to use the steering tiller on the Embraer, it's got a slightly interesting system whereby it's only on the captain's side. And to engage the steering via the tiller, what you do is push down on the tiller. It's a spring-loaded switch and maintain it held down. All the time that's done, the rudder pedals do nothing in terms of steering. They can still operate the rudder, obviously, but not the nose wheel steering. And the tiller has priority. If it's not held down, then the rudder pedals steer the aircraft and the tiller does nothing. And it's all through a steer-by-wire system. So that's the basic overview of things. So what I have here is the Embraer QRH for steer fail. I've had one of these in real life, and it wasn't so much of an issue. In fact, the captain in that particular instance, and bear in mind I was quite junior, I think nowadays I'd have words to say about it, but he actually vacated the runway at Doncaster, sadly just shut now, but Doncaster International Airport, and managed to do the full taxi back onto stand and park the aircraft with steer fail using just differential braking and thrust. Probably not the wisest thing to do, but we all learn from these things, right? Okay, so going on to the QRH, the first question that you get is in flight. So it's a yes or no option. If it happens in flight, which wasn't the case for this particular crew at Eastern, it just says yes, during landing, steer the airplane using differential braking and rudder, which is what they did. The other option is no. And for no, it says during taxi, perform smooth radius turns using differential braking if necessary. And then following that, there's a little bit more, which says when it is practical to stop the airplane, emergency parking brake apply. So we're carrying this out under the airplane secured with your parking brake on. Then steer disengage switch, press and hold. That's the switch on the back of the control column. Nose wheel steering handle, press and release. And then steering disengage switch, release. So what we're doing is a system reset and trying to regain the steering on the ground. We don't do that in the air, but on the ground we can do it. And ideally that fixes the problem. Now it's not apparent from the news item whether the crew actually carried out that particular thing. And I think you could probably take them to task over that if they didn't do. Where I think there's a little bit of difficulty for me is, were they in flight? Well, they'd landed, hadn't they? So it was in the landing rollout that this occurred. And you would think in the case of a no, then the QRH tends towards you being at taxi speed, being able to bring the aircraft to a halt, get the QRH out and have a little look. But that's not the case during the landing roll. So I would tend towards more being in that in-flight regime where it just says steer the airplane using differential braking and rudder, which is what they did. Difficult one, isn't it? Now, what we don't know is whether the crew were familiar with the QRH and this particular item. Some crews are. And if you knew that it says that, then I can't see that that's a huge problem taxiing the aircraft clear of the runway using the procedure outlined in the QRH anyway. Or maybe they had really good systems knowledge and knew that when you go into a steering fail or steer fail, the aircraft is in freewheel mode so that you can use differential braking, thrust, and a bit of rudder at higher speeds. But the point that Rick was making, I think, was this is going to be a difficult one if it goes wrong and the insurance company become involved. And yeah, I agree. Boeing, Airbus, many types, you could be taken to task. But ultimately, it's in black and white that you should steer this aircraft after a steering fail using differential braking and rudder, which is exactly what the crew did. So that's why I feel criticising them on this particular decision might have been a little bit harsh. That said, if they'd come to the decision to bring the aircraft to a halt on the runway and get a tug and call it a day, as was suggested, nobody would call them to task over that, and it would be an entirely sensible decision. As always with these things, there's more than one viewpoint. That's just mine, and that's with the benefit of quite a bit of experience on the Embraer. Sadly, I don't get to fly that aircraft again after my job went south, but with a little bit of good news here, I'm now a little bit more familiar with the A320, having joined a certain airline which Captain Al, I think, is quite familiar with. Hopefully should be in the aircraft itself come December. At the moment, I'm undertaking what must be the longest type rating known to man. But it's all exciting, and I'm very, very thankful to be back. And one of the great things that's kept me going between flying and not flying, and now hopefully flying again, is the APG. So I just wanted to say thank you very much indeed to you guys for retaining the small amount of sanity I might still have. That's all for now, and I will doubtless leave you some more interminably boring feedback at some stage. Thanks ever so much. Cheerio.
Oh, are you kidding me? Liz, listening to that is the quality of his audio is just amazing. Obviously, we've even joked around that obviously he's a professional broadcaster or something. And I think, what did he reply with, Liz, that he did like hospital radio or something like that? Or, oh, I'm sorry, I muted you. Go ahead and unmute yourself. Sorry.
Yes, he did some
StreamYard.
kind of hospital broadcast, I believe.
Yeah, which is a big thing over there in the UK that I've never
Right.
heard of before. But really, really excellent equipment that he's using. And he's got a great voice, and I can hear the compression, expansion, and all of these great things that he's using. Awesome
And guess
feedback.
what? The
And
content was great too.
the content was better than the sound of the thing. I mean, they're both like top notch. And Simon, don't even joke about not sending us more audio feedback. That was awesome. Your
love it.
knowledge level is great. And you know what? I do believe that we received some feedback after we covered that news item, because we didn't know anything at all about the steering fail
Yeah,
system.
Captain
on
Craig
the,
sent something in.
Right. He flew the 175 as well, kind of straightened us out as well regarding this, and that's not an unusual thing to do. And I think the reason why Miami Rick and the rest of us kind of thought, why would you do that, is because we're used to this situation occurring in airplanes that we've all flown, and none of them, I guess, have this capability that the Embraer 175 has for, actually continuing to taxi the airplane using differential braking and, wide sweeping turns and that kind of thing. And it makes complete sense. So we retract all the bad things that we said about this decision making regarding
But
now.
just great to hear he's flying again. That's so good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That means we have to, of course, congratulations, Simon. That's awesome. Good to hear you're back in the air, or will be soon. He sent this a little while ago, so maybe he's finished his interminable line
Type
check,
rating.
I think, or type rating. Yeah. So that's great to hear. And please do send us more feedback in the future. You say we have a brilliant show. Well, that was brilliant audio feedback, Simon. So, thank you for trying to keep us above that 50% mark. We do struggle at times, don't we, Liz?
We do sometimes, exactly, Jeff.
Yeah, but this time you brought us up to that 50% guarantee. Thank you, Liz. All right.
And some more audio from Stefan.
Oh, Stefan, our favorite gin guy
Yeah.
from Hamburg. So let me hit this button here and play his audio feedback.
Hey, APG team. Hi, Jeff. Hi, Captain Nick. Hi, everybody. This is Stefan from Hamburg calling. You know, the one with the nice sauerkraut accent. That's why I think that's the only reason why you occasionally post my feedback here. I like to give you a small feedback to episode 540. It's a question from Andy about firmware updates. And even though Captain Nick did a very good answer to that topic, I like to mention one very interesting case about a software update update which went horrible wrong, and it was the accident, the crash of an Airbus 400M cargo, the fancy new cargo airplane. It happened in May 2015, and they did a test flight, and they were taking off in an airport in Spain, and shortly after takeoff they got engine problems, and they crashed, and 5 out of 6 people died in that crash. Very, very sad. And apparently they did a software update on all the engines at the same time, and by doing that they accidentally erased some parameter necessary for safe operation of the engines, and basically they were either frozen in the power setting or even the fuel were cut off shortly after takeoff. That's why the aircraft crashed, basically. And that was due to a wrong done software update and of the FADEC, which means, by the way, fully authorized digital engine control. And especially this fully authorized makes you think about it, if there should be some kind of button where you can, at the final end, override the software in the engine. Just my 10 cents on this topics. Once again, great show. Continue on, and love to hear you soon. Bye-bye.
Always great to hear from you, Stefan. He says, hi, Jeff. Hi, Liz. Me again, the gin guy from Hamburg. He says, tell me if you need more, honestly. Well, maybe at some point in the future when I have an address again.
A mailing
thanks
address,
for posting. Yeah, mailing address. Thanks for posting my feedback regarding the Glacier spare parts. Yeah, it was our pleasure. And then he tells us about what this feedback's about. So he also sent in a link to a corresponding wiki article here regarding that A400M crash.
That's sad.
And yeah, it really, really is. And just all to a software issue. That's, wow, that's sad.
No.
It really is. Good feedback there. Thank you, Stefan. And hope to, I know I missed you at Oshkosh, and hope to get a chance to see you sometime, somewhere in the future. All right. Let's move on with feedback from Matt. He says, no questions, just many thanks. Okay. So he says, after proofreading this, I have to apologize. This is a lot longer than expected.
That's what she said.
Hi, airline pilot guys and gals. Hope this finds you well. I'd start by confessing my having a serious case of APG syndrome since XXX episode/year, but with my habit of listening to new episodes and then older episodes in descending order between releases, I have almost no idea. Besides, I think syndrome is a misnomer since, like disabilities, syndromes are something one shouldn't be embarrassed of. Only kidding. Your droning voices get me through my laborious days as a craft brewer in town. Our droning voices.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute. Droning. Let's see if I can find a...
Yeah, let's get that drone in the
talking
air.
about like this. So that's what we sound like, I think, in his head. I think syndrome, let's see. No, your droning voices get me through my laborious days as a craft brewer in a town you once visited to pick up an RV. More on that later. Okay. As a
Chicago.
serious aside, yeah, I'm on 321, going down, having started about the beginning of 2022. Oh, episode 321. When I saw 321, I was thinking an Airbus.
I know, you're thinking Airbus.
Yeah. After so much listening, I feel I owe something, and since the coffee fund isn't a viable option, my excuses will hopefully be apparent. A simple thank you message felt appropriate. I wouldn't normally include so much about myself, but being a pilot, well, here is my memoir and my grievances. The Friday morning of AirVenture 2022, I arrived in Oshkosh with a secondary mission of meeting Captain Jeff, culminating in a handshake and perhaps a chuckle, primary, of course, being Oshkoshing. Though this was approximately my 10th visit, oh, he's a seasoned Oshkosher, I was astonished to find an incredible number of gray-haired, white mustachioed gentlemen attendees. Yeah, I've noticed the same thing. Just look for the guy with the white hair and white mustache. With no other way of making contact with Captain Jeff, I did what came naturally and began by accosting those fitting the bill with Talons, Talons Douglas? That's what she said? I can see him walking around saying that. They're looking, what kind of crazy person is this? I quickly learned gentleman isn't a term reserved for all male aviation fans.
At least he didn't get punched, I don't think, or anything.
I don't know. Sounds like he got close. Using the deductive reasoning skills learned through years of watching detective murder shows with my girlfriend, I made my way to the Warbird section to find a certain C-47 I'd heard of. Upon reaching this gorgeous Betsy's Biscuit bomber, I met an older gentleman, this time the term is well-deserved, working on getting the door open. Starting with, beautiful airplane, I asked if he knew Nick. He was proud to say he was Nick's dad. And I asked him, and asked how I knew him. Yep, Hector. I responded by telling him, frankly, I didn't know him, but I'd heard him a lot. He lit up saying, oh, on the podcast? After saying Nick was off at the briefing for the show, he asked what brought me to AirVenture. I gave him an abbreviated version, but this is where the story begins. Though I never did find Captain Jeff, who was gone. Thankfully, I didn't bring the gift beer that would have been confiscated at the gate. I said, the guy over there on the scooter is my dad, and the young guy is my nephew. My dad's dad would skip class in high school to take flying lessons. He flew B-24s in the Army Air Corps, along with C-46s and later C-119s, after it was the Air Force. Later, he was a controller at Stanford Field, SDF, Louisville, and eventually taught my old man to fly in a Ronca Champ out of his own farm/airfield, which still have the house and part of the farm, but that field across from the house was sold. Not long after my dad enlisted with the Guard, Kentucky Air National Guard at SDF, and went on to serve a tour in Japan as Voodoo Witch Doctor, aka RF-101 crew chief, with the 165 TRS, which stands for Tactical Reconnaissance Squadron, in 1968 through 69. With a little luck and serving as CFI to the Wing King Sun, he landed a flight school slot and went on to fly the jet he started on as a mechanic. Brief note, on one occasion he took off into IMC, and due to what was later confirmed as erroneous indications from both attitude indicators, graciously and quickly gave the jet back to the taxpayers. Of course, that's the term we always used when you eject. He then flew the RF-4, winning Best Focus 1982, and later the C-130 when Kentucky Air National Guard switched to the 123 STS. 123 STS. Okay. During all of this, he was hired at United and flew many airframes, including being engineer on the same DC-10 Captain Al Haynes had trouble with only the day before. Huh. What did he do to it?
Oh.
Yeah. I wonder if the NTSB knows this information. Of course they do. Let's see. He flew the A320, but sorry, Captain Nick, even though you share a visceral love for the Phantom, it's the 777 that he retired on after nearly 40 years that he claims as his favorite. He was in the scooter at Osh because he had open heart surgery 2 weeks earlier. Wow. When we left Betsy's Biscuit bomber, he made me drive so he could get some exercise. That was in quotes, get some exercise. And didn't drive it again for the day, which earned me some odd looks. My nephew will be completing the check ride for his private over the Thanksgiving break. Hope he, did well with that. He discontinued due to weather last month. He is an aeronautical engineer at KSU, Kansas State University, and before my dad's surgery was his student. He began teaching me to fly officially when I was 12 in 1996. I'm still using the same logbook. In a Blanca decathlon. That's a great airplane. A half-hour lesson followed by a half hour of aerobatics. Spoiled? Perhaps. I soloed in a 152 on my 16th birthday before heading to the DMV, never Department of Motor Vehicles, for those not familiar with those letters, Never will be topped as best birthday for me. So that was a great birthday. Yeah. He had his pilot certificate before he had his driver's license. Pretty cool. And then my instrument rating a few months after graduating with a degree in audiovisual production from Northern Illinois University. Did I mention I grew up under the Western approach to Chicago O'Hare? I fell into brewing beer and for the last 12 years worked my way into what some would consider a decent brewing career. I worked up from cellar rat at a small Southside Chicago brewery to brewing at Revolution Brewing. Oh, they make some amazing beer. I've had Revolution Brewing IPAs that are just kick butt. Back to his feedback here, to winning a GABF silver medal, GABF, the Great American Beer Festival. I think that's what that stands for, GABF. A silver medal in 2021 at a brewery in Mokina, Illinois. That's where I rented the Class A, Liz.
Cool. Yeah.
When things slowed down to COVID and subsequent economic trends, I started building the model airplanes my dad bought when I was young for us to build together. They made for good, dare I say great, gifts for my dad, since they were the RF-101 and RF-4 with correct squadron markings that he flew. More so, they fed a deep, near genetic hunger to once again slip the surly bonds as I once had, not as a passenger, but a commander, a director of want and will, a pilot. That's what I am and what I will be. Sheesh, that was a bit dramatic, but isn't it? When questioned recently of my endeavors, I tried to downplay it, only to return to the statement that flying is a whole unique thing. It is like many things because it requires the knowledge, understanding, and mastery of many things. But then, once those things are realized, all the science figured and the worries checked, you're free. Free in a way that mankind generally is not. True, pilots have been looking down on others since 1903, but it hasn't gone out of style, and it absolutely will not. Speaking of genetics, I failed to mention that my mother and father met in the chicken house, in quotes, on the farm my dad grew up on, my father and dad being the same person. Okay. He was helping his dad recover wings on a plane belonging to a man who would later become my other grandfather. Her dad taught her to fly to the point of her first solo. She at some point ran through a cow fence, just an electrified wire type, which ended her foray into aviation. But regardless, as the whole thing goes, I'm 100% pilot, whether I want it or not. My sisters like to fly too, but just to ride, to Tahiti or Italy or the like. They're both in the medical field, one being a Dr. Steph. In fact, her name is Stephanie. And I've gotten many a back shot due to my occupation of moving heavy stuff frequently. I'll add, not fun, but better in the long run. In closing, I must first thank you for getting me to write this out. There's never been any mistaking my intrinsic connection to flight, from being dressed in a baby-sized flight suit as a newborn to sitting on my grandpa's lap at 2 years old in a 172 over southern Indiana, to yesterday in a 1970-something Aztec, knocking out my complex requirements for commercial, to my other best birthday, which is number 4, sitting an F4 at the guard with my dad. Flight is special. It is, despite all the science we are taught. PFM, which is pure fluffing magic. Thanks very much for all you've done and will continue to do. I've had the fortune of traveling the world as SA and sat in UAL ops at ORD after my dad's retirement. Let's see, SA, traveling? Oh, space available maybe? Yeah, probably. Non-revenue or space available. Sat in United Airlines operations at Chicago O'Hare after my dad's retirement flight. He was captain of the year once, by the way. Wow, that's something I'll never attain. This podcast has brought me back to something that feels like home, just like arriving at Oshkosh or seeing a sea of blue taxiway lights at night and the green and white flash of a beacon. Matt Volker. Oh yeah, and talons, Douglas.
Great.
Wow.
That was
what a great writer you are, Matt.
Yeah.
Very, very poetic. And what a history. That's amazing.
Fantastic.
So much more interesting than mine.
Too bad you didn't meet up with him, but next time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know I missed several people apparently who showed up on that last
Matt.
weekend. Yeah, Stefan and Matt and who knows who else. I do apologize. I got there so early that I just couldn't take another night in my tent. I had to pack it up and
you were ready to
start
move.
moving on. I was ready to move. Yeah, but as you said, I plan on being back again. I don't know if I'll be back next year or not. Maybe. I don't know. Hopefully have my motorhome by then, and I just might go up there for some fun and see some of you up there. Anyway, so should I read Nick's response to that
would
from
be lovely.
Matt? Yeah, Captain Nick wrote him back and said, "Hi, Matt. It's hard to fit a whole family's love of flying onto a few short pages. I've enjoyed reading it over my breakfast, and I feel I know you all. Thanks for getting my morning off to such a good start. Best regards, Captain Nick."
Yeah.
Where is he anyway? He should be here.
I don't know.
He's playing a
He says he's bowling.
bowls game. Yeah,
Bowls.
that's what they all say.
He's bowls.
Yeah, he's playing with his bowls.
So, Jeff, we've got about half an hour to the 2-hour mark if you want to go that far, or do you just want to choose a couple more? Whatever you want.
Yeah, I kind of told Brent that I'd be ready to meet up with him for our early dinner at about 4 o'clock.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I think that maybe let's do this from Vernon Tryon in Fort Morgan, Colorado. He says, and I have a couple slides with that. Dear APG
I'm
crew,
ready.
it's with great sadness that yesterday I received in the mail the beautiful 2023 calendar from the Commemorative Air Force. I'm convinced that the B-17 featured for the month of April and the P-63 featured for May are the two aircraft that tragically collided at the Dallas Air Show a week ago. Of course, he sent this in a while ago. See the attached scanned images, which we're showing in the video here, and I'll have in the show notes. Sad events like this break our collective hearts. Again, that's Vernon Tryon in Fort Morgan. God, I miss audio feedback from Vernon. He always has the music playing in the background, right?
Yeah. How about reading Mitchell's, and we could wrap it up after Mitchell, or maybe after Greg's. One or two more, maybe.
Okay, let's. Which one did Greg? Oh, yeah. Okay, let's do Mitchell.
Number 7, Mitchell. Yeah.
Number 7. Let's see, Captain Jeff. Your podcast was a huge inspiration to me while grinding my teeth in flight school, flight instructing, and at the regionals. I'm proud to say that as of July, I am officially an Acme pilot. Yay! I'd like to thank you for your insight on the industry throughout my journey. I see that we're on different aircraft and I won't have the chance to fly together before your retirement. Bummer. I hope you and your family have a wonderful holiday season, though. Thank you again, Mitchell Mueller. Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you for these little notes like this. Really mean a lot to us, and make us feel like, hey, you know, we're doing more than just yakking every week, and it means something to you all, or some of you out there. So we do appreciate hearing from you in that way. We'll
wrap it up with Snoopy with number 8.
Yeah, let's do. Oh, okay.
You want to do 8 and 11, whatever you like.
Yeah, 8 and 11. Let's do that. We can do that quickly.
Yeah, that's good.
So Greg sends us in, Greg Peterson, Saturday, November 26th would have been Charles Schultz's 100th birthday. For listeners outside the U.S., Charles Schultz was the creator of the comic strip Peanuts. Peanuts was started in 1950 and is a comic strip primarily about a group of kids, but one of the characters was a beagle named Snoopy. Snoopy fancied himself a World War I fighter pilot and would often set off on missions in his biplane doghouse to seek out and destroy the Red Baron. On November 26th, many comic strips paid tribute to Charles Schultz by featuring characters from the Peanuts comic strip or tributes to common phrases from the comic strip. Many of the tributes were to Snoopy and his piloting skills. I thought that this one from the comic strip Strange Brew was especially appropriate for the airline pilot guy. I've also included the link to the tribute page that shows all the comic strips that paid tribute to Charles Schulz. Enjoy. So the one that he included here that he thought was most appropriate for us here at the APG is being displayed now in the video, and we'll have again a link to this in the show notes. And he also has a link to the schultzmuseum.org/tribute. There's Snoopy, of course, in his piloting outfit, with the scarf, the red scarf trailing, or the red and
his goggles and his helmet.
Goggles and helmet on top of his little red doghouse, flying off into the distance. And there's in the foreground of this is the cockpit, the front section of an airliner. The co-pilot is looking out the window, trying to figure out what he's looking at there. And then the captain is looking straight ahead, not over to the right where Snoopy is on his doghouse biplane. And he's saying, "We're not reporting that."
That's great.
That's awesome.
I don't know if you looked at the link at all, Jeff, but some of the cartoons are so clever. It really is. It's worthwhile, if you see the link, to just go in there and have a look at all these different cartoonists that we're paying tribute. It's great.
Yeah. And I have to admit, I have not done that myself. So I'll do that, and I'll have a link in the show notes.
Great fun.
And then finally, also from Greg Peterson, he says...
you were going to share the screen here, Jeff, right?
That's right. Okay. He says, "Hey, crew, this is this year's TSA K9 calendar. Enjoy." So let me go over here to the StreamYard and present and share my screen. And I'm going to pick, let's see, where's that window? I think this is it right here. And share. And if you can make that active, Liz. There we go. There's the 2023 TSA K9 calendar. And
that's their cover art, I guess.
Yep. This is 2022 cutest K9 winner. Ebers, I guess. Eebbers. Rossi is our January model. A Belgian Malinois and German Shepherd mix.
Rick would love that mix.
Yeah, he's at the Indianapolis International Airport, IND. And February is Messy. Yellow Labrador
famous,
Retriever.
Football player.
Oh, okay.
Lionel Messi, he's a very famous soccer player. He's playing in the World Cup. So, yeah.
I did not know that. Thank you, Liz. Let's see. She is a Yellow Labrador Retriever at DCA, Ronald Reagan Washington National. March, the model here is Dusan, I think. Maybe D-U-S-A-N, Dusan. German short-haired pointer. And he is, or she is, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the gender is of this particular doggy. At the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, DFW, with a nice blue something toy in his
that's usually their reward. Usually they have some funny little toy that once they find something, that's what makes them crazy. They just love it. So that's probably his reward toy.
Cool. How do you pronounce this one, Liz?
I'd say Joel, but Jolie or Joel.
D-J-O-L-E. Joel. Maybe the D is silent. A wire-haired pointing griffin. I've never even heard of that brand. Breed. I'm sorry, not brand. And LaGuardia Airport is where you'd find this very, very attractive doggy. And continuing on with, what month is this now? May. Tex Teepee?
Tex Teepee, I guess.
German Shepherd at San Antonio International. So cute.
Didn't you fly to San Antonio when you went to the race?
I did, yes. I flew in and out of San Antonio International. I did not see
Tex Teepee.
Tex Teepee. Next month is Ava. She is a German short-haired pointer at DCA. Very, very cute. Continue on with Sonja.
Sonia, I guess Sonia.
Sonia, Szonja. Another German wire-haired pointer at the San Juan International Airport. Luis Munoz Marin International Airport, SJU.
I think Rick flies there sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. July, or is it
There's
August
Ebers
now?
again.
Ebers, the one that was the cover girl. Vizsla, Labrador Retriever. Vizsla. That's the breed that Nick and Jilly have, right?
That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Very cute. And in her mouth is her chew toy, or her little special prize, and it has the Kansas City
Chiefs.
Chiefs. Thanks.
Chiefs.
Their emblem on the thing that says "Dino Bite."
I think Kansas, wasn't that where Nick Camacho and his son went recently to a Kansas City Chiefs game? Yeah.
Certainly is. They went to a Kansas City Chiefs game. They did against the Los Angeles Rams. Next month is Shadow Shaw at Columbus International Airport, John Glenn Columbus International.
Jennifer.
Well, no, we don't know for sure if that's her airport or not.
Oh, that's true.
A golden Labrador Retriever. Could be. Maybe not. Maybe for sure. Tom Magnum at JFK, John F. Kennedy International Airport. German short-haired pointer. A lot of the German short-haired pointers in these. Must be a good dog for this kind of work. Teo, Teo.
Teo,
another German Shepherd at
what a
Ted
face.
Stevens,
Oh,
Anchorage
my goodness.
International. Look at that tongue.
Alaska, yeah.
Yep, very cute. Behind him, a sign: "Beware of dog."
Yeah.
Loki.
Loki.
In Louis Armstrong, New Orleans International, MSY. A Labrador Retriever mix, and finally we have, I don't know, Eggsabel.
I don't know. Yes, weird.
I'm not sure how you say that. Another German wire-haired pointer at Raleigh-Durham International Airport in North Carolina. Wow. All right, so if you want to check out the TSA calendar, I will have that link for you in the show notes. Thank you, Greg, for sending that in. And that means now we're going to wrap up this week's show, a short show for you, but we just wanted to make sure that you didn't forget about us. We're still here, and hope to get back into our regular schedule after all the holidays, but we'll try certainly to have at least a couple of more here in December for you. And we point you over to our website, airlinepilotguide.com. You want to do the honors, Liz?
Sure.
Or you want me to just, okay.
No, I can do that.
All right.
We're on the social medias, and we're on Facebook.com at Airline Pilot Guy, and Twitter is at APG Crew. And as Steph always says, the individual Twitter handles of the crew are there as well. You can follow that. And also we are on Instagram, although we don't do too much there, but we do have a presence. And on Instagram, we're APG Crew as well.
And of course, my buddy,
Yeah, go ahead.
Hillel, somehow always manages to be wherever I happen to be when we're recording the
Your
show.
little shadow.
And so let's go ahead.
Does he
and
know
see
you're
if
moving?
Is...
So he doesn't turn up at the house and scare the
Well,
new
I'm hoping that he won't
owners?
know, and then that way. No, I need to make sure that he knows so that he can always be with us and tell us about Slack. So here we go. Yep, there it is, that familiar sound of the water in the shower. Hey, hello. Hello, Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. That's the price we pay to have you come on over here, get in front of the microphone, and tell us all about Slack.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo at airlinepilotguy.com, or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel. As always, we do appreciate all the help that you give us
It's
here.
caught in my zipper, Jeff.
Never good to hear, Hillel. Never good. And as many times as that has happened, you'd think he'd know how to do that. Apparently not. All right. And also, thank you so much, Liz,
My pleasure.
for being my co-host and
It was fun.
producer, director, assistant, all the things, all the amazing things that you do to make this whole thing sound so great. And all the work and research and everything you do is priceless. So thank you. And with that, we're going to tell you to have a great week, great weekend, a great holiday season, and we want to wish you blue skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
Bye, everybody.
Bing.
Ding.
And that is a
done.
wrap.
Now, Jeff,
here
we're
we go.
not going to get any help from the audience on titles, and
I
I
know.
don't know. I've only got okay. So, I wonder if he could do something clever around the tower? You know, like a double meaning of the guy flying into the tower and the control tower, or something. Like I don't know. I don't know.
Or
what
something
to
playing on like shocking and leaving you hanging and yeah. Yeah, I think
shocking
that would be a
flight?
shocking flight. Yeah. I like that. It was a shocking flight. A shocking ending. Yeah, and then we'll just reference the that news item, and then he can check out all the pictures of this thing.
I think
Yeah, that
I'll
should be
just tell
good.
him to center it around that, and I'll give him a couple of
Okay.
suggestions. And then
So he's
I'm
willing to
sure
do the
he'll-
artwork for us then.
Well,
Yeah?
he hasn't said no, so I'm assuming.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything
Well,
else.
you know what?
You know.
Seriously, Jeff, if he doesn't, this is our stripped down show, so we do stripped down cover art. We do like 547 and something very stripped down, like
The 547 show.
yeah,
That's it.
with a tower on the
Yeah.
two towers on the APG or something. But no, I'm just sort of
Yeah.
saying. Well, I'll
Yeah.
ask him, but if he's busy, just seriously, don't invest a lot of time. You're not going to do that for
Okay.
this show. So-
Yeah, I just don't have the time to do it.
No,
so.
you don't. You absolutely don't.
Oh, well, hopefully we'll get some beautiful art from Nick, and if not, you're going to see some very boring, horrible stuff from me. Anyway.
That was fun. That was good.
Yeah, that was fun, and I hope everybody enjoyed the one take recording show that we just did, and thank you so much, Liz, for your assistance.
My pleasure. It was great.
Means so
It was
much to
great.
me,
It was
and
great fun.
we'll see you all.
Give
I'm
my
like
love
waving
to-
goodbye to our live chat room people, but they're not there.
Yeah.
There were no
So,
comments.
so
They
we'll
were
just end
asleep.
the broadcast.
Okay, end the broadcast. Here we go. Bye.
Here we go. Bye, everybody.